friends, David here from Above AVL and Learn Stage Lighting. And in this video, we're going to review a new product, the ADJ Net2. So this is pretty cool. It's a little wireless DMX node. We're going to talk about the good, talk about the bad. We're going to talk about the slightly ugly. Let's dive in. We've got this new node here from ADJ, and it's a pretty cool little device, okay? So let's walk through the basics, and then we're gonna talk about what I don't like about it. It really is, first of all, positionally, it's about the same cost right now as the Chauvet DMX-AN2, which is the node that we used to recommend to pretty much anybody just looking for a couple DMX outputs, one or two from, software, from iPad apps, from consoles. If you were looking for an inexpensive node, that was what we went to. And the Wi-Fi Net2 has come in. It's very close in price to that previous node, but it has Wi-Fi built in, among some other really great features. So let's take a look. So looking at the fixture itself, the first thing I notice is the build quality, like the feel of the metal, the sturdiness of it, all that jazz is a lot nicer than other nodes that we've looked at before. It's got some nice little feet on it. It has some good documentation. You've got two 5-pin DMX out ports. Of course, you can always just adapt that to a 3-pin. And then on the back, we've got a couple things going on. One is we have a DC power input and a power switch, which this is where I get on my little soapbox and I say, I really hate power switches on devices like nodes. I don't think they should have them. It doesn't help anyone. That being said, if you run it off of power over Ethernet, which you can do from the Ethernet port here, you then don't need the power brick anymore. And when you don't use the power brick, the power switch doesn't function. Okay, so if you're powering it via PoE, you're all good. You don't have any worries about this power button accidentally getting hit or something. Because take a look at this. This guy has an M10 clamp mount. I believe that's the only clamp mount, and a safety cable mount over here, which means that you can hang it up on a truss, real nice and easy, safety cable clamp, no zip ties, no funny business like that, and you're good to go. And so I hate when you've got something hanging up like on a truss. I really hate having a power button because that's something that you didn't check it before it got up. Somehow it got hit, and now you have a showstopper and you got to get up somewhere that's hard to access in order to deal with it. So I really don't like power buttons on nodes. That's one of the things I don't like about this. But I really do like this node. 2 DMX ports out. And the cool thing is, as I mentioned, it has Wi-Fi. So when it comes to doing things on an event, of course, coming from show business, I would always go, hey, wire everything. Don't use Wi-Fi based stuff, blah, 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 blah. But the fact of the matter is, if you're doing smaller setups, you're fairly close to the antenna, you got to just roll in, set up your stuff and go and make it quick. Then running wireless from either an iPad app, a computer, even a console to your node can be really, really helpful. You have the ability to connect to a network built and broadcasted by this node itself, but you also have the ability to connect it to an existing network that you have, which generally, if you have a good router and you're broadcasting a strong signal, that should give you, in theory, a little bit better chance of having a really good quality stream of information to this unit, which I keep accidentally unplugging. Another reason to use power over Ethernet. So next I want to go ahead, sit down at the computer and look at the software, because there's some ugly there. Overall, we generally like it. We don't hate it, but there are a few things to look out for and to be aware of that won't keep you from using this with any of the functions that I mentioned. Everything, you can get to everything that's required. It's just that if you are in a position where you change the settings a lot, there's a few things that are just honestly going to drive you nuts in the software. And that, to note, is that this is a new device on the market. So at the time of this recording, the software is very new. My hope is that over time, they update it, they adjust it, they get it to work a little bit more smoothly. Regardless, you can get to everything that it says it should be able to do. Everything except in the manual, it mentions being able to adjust settings on an LCD display. They clearly copied this from their Net4 and Net8 devices, the manual, and then missed pulling that little tidbit out. But other than that, the manual is very helpful, gets you where you need to go. And we're going to hop into the computer, talk about some of the nuances of control for this device. Let's dive in. So when it comes to a node type device, if, for a lot of people, especially on the entry level, or if you're in a permanently installed venue, you kind of set it up once and then you forget about it, right? You don't ever have to adjust settings again. As opposed to if someone's gigging, they're doing events, they might change settings quite often. That's going to determine how fancy per se of a node you get. So some of the downsides, right, is there's no LCD on the unit and making the settings is a little bit funky. So let's walk through that. You basically have with the Net2 two ways to connect to it. So essentially, when you're configuring this node, there's a couple things to really be aware of. Number one is this is the main configuration page that you get through on a wired network. This is a great little panel, looks a lot like the Net8 and I assume the Net4, which is forthcoming. You have the basic info. You can change DMX between ARTNet and SACN. I don't love that this uses old school ARTNet with subnet and universe as the option. So basically every 16 universes, you go to the next net. That's kind of an old way of looking at it, and a lot of newer devices don't set up their ARTNet universes that way, so it can be confusing for people. If you switch it over to SACN, the net and universe still stays there. I assume the net doesn't work, that it's just straight universe. But again, kind of a little bit confusing, especially for people that are new. But again, if you only set it up once and then you leave it, that's kind of okay. Next, we have settings, some DMX settings here, the ability to update it, and the ability to change the password. So there's obviously a few things missing here, right? Like, for example, we have here at the initial version of this node, a fixed IP address that's on the bottom of the unit and listed here that you can't change, right? So you better hope that your DMX network is in this range, or else you're kind of up a creek, right? The other thing is that when you connect via the Wi-Fi, so you end up with this basically, Chinese software from the company that actually makes the Wi-Fi chip, is my assumption. And you got to click English up here in the corner. And then all you get are the settings for like the Wi-Fi, some stuff you probably don't want to touch. I don't even know what all the username and password when you log into it is both admin, whereas the default username and password to get onto the network is ADJ admin, and the password to get into this configuration page over the wired is ADJ admin. So I don't love the inconsistency there. And again, the only thing you can get to here is the Wi-Fi setting. Overall, like for a lot of simple uses, if you understand, the capabilities, like yes, you can take it and you can have it shoot out its own network. You can have it connect to an existing network. So this is wonderful, and you could set it to DHCP on Wi-Fi. But in terms of wired, you're stuck at this IP address, which is not great. You can't change it, at least at the time of this recording. And it does say in the manual, it does seem to suggest that it really wants you to unicast to it. Okay, so that leaves in a couple quick things that we'll talk about back at the table. So what do we think? Overall, the ADJ Net2 is a solid little Ethernet node for DMX. The ability to use Wi-Fi plus wired is really nice. However, at least in the initial version, and again, check out their website, see if they update this in the future. Hopefully they will. You can't set your own IP address. Thankfully, it can run on PoE, which I do appreciate, but you can't set your own IP address. It does seem like it wants you to unicast to it by default, and so if you have multiple, that could become an issue. But for simple setups for a tablet-based or a PC-based software where you either run a very simple network or you just run an Ethernet cable between your computer and the device and plug it in, this is a really rockin' DMX node. It's definitely really well built. Again, between the feature set chipset and the build, it's definitely built nicer than previous nodes that we've recommended in this price range, kind of this entry level. And having nice features like the ability to actually clamp mount, have a safety cable, have PoE power this thing means that it definitely can be a winner in the right situations as long as you understand the limitations. If you like this, then definitely check out the ADJ Wi-Fi Net2. If you're not sure, head over to our site Above AVL anyways, okay? It's Above AVL. What we love to do is help you find the right fit for your needs. So maybe this isn't the right fit, and that's okay. We can look at other nodes and find the best one for you, quote out your personalized price, and help you buy it and get it in your hands. Not only that, we want to be your place to get all of your audio, lighting, and video gear. So if that sounds good, head over to aboveavl.com. We want to help you get the right stuff in your hands and get it to you now. If that sounds good, we'll see you there. Thanks.